Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Naram Promotions, the Real Deal podcast show. I wish I had some good news for you tonight. I have only one good news, and that's President Donald Trump has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And no, actually, I've had a second good news, and that is President Trump bombed Iran's nuclear sites. So those are the only two good news I have for you guys. But after this, it only goes downhill. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a packed show for you tonight, so we'll dive right in. Naram Promotions, the Real Deal podcast show, highlights the history and current status of the Jamaican reggae music culture. Our objective is to first inform our audience of the rich reggae culture that exists in the southeast of St. Elizabeth, southwest of Manchester, Jamaica, and we will open our lens and microphones mostly to the south central section of the island of Jamaica to highlight the many reggae artists, reggae bands, reggae sound systems, reggae DJs, the food, the lifestyle, the people, and the businesses that have helped to influence and mold the rich Jamaican culture across the globe. Secondly, we will from time to time engage with our Jamaican diaspora to gain insights of the progress of the reggae music culture across the globe. Naram Promotion, the Real Deal podcast show airs every Saturday and every Monday, and also during the course of the week. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and also click the notification bell of this family friendly show. And we thank you in advance and hope you will love our show and give us a positive feedback. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, as you can see, we have a number of issues to go through, and I'll try to go through them as quickly as possible so that you can get the information that you need. This vital information is important because we have breaking news on the Supreme Court of the United States ruling. The ruling that they have made changes the immigration game. Alligator Alcatraz is a real game changer, guys. And also, U.S. visa rules have become stricter. Also, there are visa overstay rules that you must be aware of. And also, additionally, U.S. citizens are not safe if you have misrepresented yourself uh, and or lied on your applications. Green card holders must be aware of many changes that may affect their status. The U.S. government agencies under the direction of President Donald Trump are scrutinizing and checking your social media and your internet presence and other information more stringently. There is also an enormous emphasis on the rule of law and also the importance of maintaining order. And we also have Alpart pension problems that are worse than you think. Please join us on these topics and many more at Naram Promotions, the Real Deal podcast show, Naram Promotions, or at George Ashmead. And that's hashtag George Ashmead. And you'll see those links down below at the end of the show. But you want to stay to the end of the show because I have an announcement about the Alpart pension plans problem that needs to be heard. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Naram Promotions, the Real Deal podcast show. So, tonight, we're going to start off with um, something that is not so popular for many people who have broken the law, come across the border, undocumented, and listen carefully, and I'll comment afterwards.
U.S.
Perhaps this is the number one enemy against type 2 diabetes. The video you are watching cost $1 billion. Yes, you heard me.
All right, so until that leaves the stage, here we go. Let's continue.
To third countries. The U.S. Supreme Court has allowed President Donald Trump's administration to resume deporting certain migrants to third countries, even when those individuals fear potential harm. The video overturned a lower court order that required officials to assess whether deported individuals might face torture or death in the receiving country. If you are interested in this topic, please pay attention and watch the video through to the end to get all the information. Please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to push the notification bell for an upcoming video. The U.S. Supreme Court has cleared the way for President Donald Trump's administration to resume deportations of migrants to countries other than their homeland. By 6-3, the justices reversed a lower court order requiring the government to give migrants a meaningful opportunity to tell officials what risks they might face being deported to a third country. The court's 3 liberal justices dissented from the majority ruling, saying it was rewarding lawlessness. The case involves 8 migrants from Myanmar, South Sudan, Cuba, Mexico, Laos and Vietnam, who were deported in May on a plane said to be heading for South Sudan. The Trump administration said they were the worst of the worst. Boston-based U.S. District Judge Brian Murphy ruled the removals had violated an order he issued in April that migrants must have a chance to argue they could be tortured or killed if they were removed to third countries even if their other legal appeals had already failed. Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson criticized the majority's unsigned decision on Monday, calling it a gross abuse. Apparently, the court finds the idea that thousands will suffer violence in far-flung locales more palatable than the remote possibility that a district court exceeded its remedial powers when it ordered the government to provide notice and process to which the plaintiffs are constitutionally and statutorily entitled, Sotomayor wrote. That use of discretion is as incomprehensible as it is inexcusable. The Department of Homeland Security said the ruling was a victory for the safety and security of the American people. Fire up the deportation planes, said the agency's spokeswoman, Tricia McLaughlin. The Trump administration said the 8 migrants had committed heinous crimes in the U.S., including murder, arson, and armed robbery. The National Immigration Litigation Alliance, which has represented the plaintiffs, called the court's ruling horrifying. Its executive director, Trina Real Muto, said the decision exposed their clients to torture and death. Trump brought the case to the justices after a Boston-based appeals court last month declined to block the lower court ruling. The original intervention by Judge Murphy, a Biden appointee, prompted the U.S. government to keep the migrants in the Horn of Africa nation of Djibouti, where an American military base is located. U.S. Solicitor General John Sauer told the Supreme Court that immigration agents had been forced to establish a makeshift detention facility for dangerous criminals in a converted conference room. Sauer said the government is often unable to deport violent criminal migrants to their homelands as those countries refuse to take them back, which he said allows them to stay in the U.S., victimizing law-abiding Americans. Monday's decision is another victory for the Republican president in his pursuit of mass deportations. Last month, the Supreme Court allowed Trump to end temporary protected status for Venezuelan nationals, affecting about 350,000 migrants. In another ruling in May, the justices said the president could temporarily pause a humanitarian program that has allowed nearly 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to stay in the U.S. for 2 years. The ruling is being hailed by the Trump administration as a win for public safety, while immigrant rights advocates warn it sets a dangerous precedent. Critics argue the decision disregards human rights and due process, exposing vulnerable migrants to life-threatening risks. That is all for today, in this video.
So,
What are your thoughts on this?
ladies
Please
and
let us know in the
gentlemen,
comments
you
section.
have heard it. The Supreme Court has ruled that the president, the judicial branch cannot infringe upon the executive branch that's controlled by the president of the United States. So therefore, they can deport you without any due process once you are deemed to be in a certain category and deportable. I'm going to go to another video from the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and this has been a conference that was held over the weekend. And you got to hear these information, guys, because it's extremely important to know what is going on right now in terms of the information that they hold that you need to know. And this is the American Immigration Lawyers Association. This is they call it the AILA group, and they're always sometimes the first to know what is coming down the pipe. So if you don't take heed right now, you need to. If you're in a certain category and you need immigration help, you need to speak to an immigration attorney or an immigration lawyer. So you have to know before you go. I'm not here. I'm not, and I'm going to make a disclaimer here. This is not legal advice. You got to seek your own legal advice. That's on you. If you know what your situation is and you need help, I'll post my numbers below and I'll point you in the right direction. But I'm not giving you any legal advice on this show. This is Naram Promotions, the Real Deal podcast show. So listen up, and I will give you some comments at the end of it. So here we go, guys.
Conference in Denver, Colorado. We have some major updates from ICE, from USCIS, and from all the
Okay,
other
so
expert panelists that's sharing on these immigration news. But as of right now, in this administration, USCIS, the Immigration Services, as well as ICE, have stopped communicating with AILA National, not the local level, meaning in the state, in the county, in the districts, there are still ongoing liaison activity that's going on where we can receive information when we have things that we want to ask, they will share. But at the national level, at the federal level, it is off. But still, we at least we have all these experts able to come and share. So we were reporting live on some of these most important issues. So first, here's something that is quite concerning. We know a lot of ICE officers have been picking up people from the streets, from detention centers, from USCIS field office interviews, from workplaces. That's obviously very distressing. One of the questions was that how do we know we're not being kidnapped? The first thing is you cannot ask them, and they are not obligated to take off their masks. But if you are approached by ICE, if you are in fear that you're being kidnapped by somebody who's pretending to be ICE, you can demand, and they are obligated to show their badge. Here's another thing, and this blew my mind. US citizens are being detained mistakenly, but held for potentially 2-3 weeks. Not 2-3 hours, not 2-3 days, 2-3 weeks. How can this possibly happen? And it is almost mind-boggling to have to advise people, including US citizens and green card holders, to carry your identification with you because this is the current situation. It might, hopefully they fix it within a few months. But as of now, if you are in a position where there is a potential and a high potential where ICE might detain you, just know they are completely swamped with detaining so many people. They don't have enough manpower and work hours to process everyone. So by the time they figure out who you really are, it might be a long time. Oh, another thing is there's going to be a lot of litigation with ICE. Every government agent.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I emphasize that in previous podcasts that this dragnet, when they sweep, and if you're caught up in that sweep, you have to be processed, and that process can take some time. And if you're not carrying your identification, or you have not made any attempt to get legal advice, then you could be in problems, because you got to understand that with a Supreme Court ruling, you can be placed in a detention center anywhere in the world, and that could take a very long time before they sort this out. So even as a citizen, a green card holder, a visa holder, or you're undocumented or you're illegally here, if you don't have your documentation, it could take weeks. It's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people. So you got to understand how important it is to take heed. And if you know there's a problem, you either if you're a citizen, if you lied to get citizenship, or you misrepresented yourself, or you're a green card holder and you did the same, you got to seek legal advice right now. If you're a visa holder and you've overstayed and you're coming into the country Think about it. If you've made any derogatory comments, postings online, you got to understand that it can work against you. I'm not saying it will, but it can work against you because they're checking your online profile. So your online profile is greater than even your passport. That tells who you are. If you're associated with certain types of people who are adverse to the United States, it could work against you. So you got to be careful what you're posting online. And if you have certain comments, as I said in previous videos, make sure you're making those comments in a registered forum or a discussion that is recognized. So therefore, if not, you got to keep your comments and thoughts to yourselves. A lot of people around the world made postings or endorsed postings against Jews. They were anti-Semitic postings or certain types of postings that are terrorist-like. You know what I mean? Or in that category. You got to check yourself out. Get legal advice, guys. Get um, an immigration attorney or an immigration specialist. You need that information. Know before you go. Keep on listening, and I will comment after this.
When there is a change in policy, they need to disclose it to the public. There have been a lot of policies that have changed in the past couple months that were completely not announced. So because that's been happening, both AILA and ICE and the government is anticipating a lot of these regulation changes, a lot of FOIA requests to understand what exactly is going on, what are they saying, and how are they disclosing it, and what should we do in response. Now we're going to go into USCIS. These officers came and they said it is in a state of fear. They are just as confused as we are in the private bar, in the nonprofit sector, as well as the clients, because the executive orders that go out, there's no clarity, there's no explanation, there's no training, there's no teaching. This is very much in line with my experience when we go to the local field offices and asking local field officers exactly what's going on, how are they interpreting it, how are they applying it. There is no clarity, there's no guidance on exactly how to execute these executive orders. Largely, the field offices are still adjudicating in the same way. You might be saying, I disagree. I don't think so. I've been practicing and I've seen how this administration, and I've seen the new request for evidence, I've seen the notice of intent denies, there are things that is completely different. These officers have said it is probably largely due to the new hires that are undertrained. So let me paint the picture for you. In the past 6 months, a lot of USCIS officers who are of retirement age or almost retirement age, they took the buyout, so they have left because there's a mandatory return to office mandate for USCIS officers. And so a lot of people did not return to office, chose not to return office. And these are a lot of them career USCIS officers that have been there for a long time. So all the experience, all the know-how, gone. They're hiring new officers, lack of training, new executive order, confusing. So the requests for evidence that have gone out with zero thing in it, right? Imagine that. We've gotten some of these. We file a huge case, 1,000 pages. We get a request for evidence. Your case is not approvable. Please submit new documents. Blank. Well, what do you want us to provide? Do you want to just provide everything again? I know other attorneys who have taken the whole thing and just reapplied again. Like, you gave us a request for evidence that said nothing, so we just assume you didn't read it, so we sent the whole thing back to you, right? Like, it's absolutely insane, but that's more so due to the lack of training as opposed to the political shift in this administration. Just to be clear. So that's something that we have been seeing in USCIS. There's a heightened sense of fear among USCIS officers. Why? Every email is monitored. They're being polygraphed. It is an extremely scary time to be a USCIS officer. And the advice from all the expert panelists is, because we know that that is the mentality, state, and experience of many officers today, when you file a case, treat them like an intern. Treat them like, when you file a case, make it extra clear. Highlight highlight, bold, circle, write little memos. Don't treat them like inexperienced officers. Don't treat them like they are the legal counsel of USCIS. Treat them like it's your attorney. You're writing instructions. How should you approve this case? And this is why this case is approvable. Here's the law. Here's the memo. Here's the executive orders. It isn't compliant. Do not worry. It is a good case, right?
So this gentleman from AILA, that's the American Immigration Lawyers Association, what he's saying is that if you're represented by an attorney, you gotta the attorney gotta understand that because there was a buyout of well, Trump offered a buyout in many of these people that were working for USCIS. The older ones, a lot of the older ones took that buyout, and new employees came in who are inexperienced. So therefore, you have to help them to understand the law. So you got to speak to your attorneys, and you got to check your attorneys if they know are they extremely experienced in the immigration law. So you can't just willy-nilly pick an attorney. You got to check that person out to make sure that they're experienced in that category or of immigration law or in its entirety, because you know your case, you know what you're up against, so you got to choose the right attorney. So therefore, the landscape has changed in many ways. And this is why I'm bringing this to you to understand from the American Immigration Lawyers Association what is going on right now and why it is important for you to know before you go. Here we go. Keep listening.
You're not going to get fired for approving this case. Do that extra step of making it extra easy for the officers because they need it. The biggest misunderstanding about tourist visa or ESTA, their visa waiver, some people just rely on the past experiences. I was always fine flying in, therefore I won't have a problem in the future. That is wrong. Also, all I have to care about is this time. Only this time I prepare extra well, even if I had a bad experience in the past. As long as I document everything well this time, it will be fine. That is also wrong. Both are incorrect. And let me explain why. Just because you have past records of success coming in doesn't necessarily mean they will approve you this time. This is why. If you're a tourist visa or if you're ESTA visa waiver, if you've been constantly coming in every 3 months, every 6 months, and you stay for significantly longer than everybody else, other people stay for 1 week, 2 weeks, you stay for 2 months, 3 months. At some point, they will get suspicious and they might think you are abusing your visa privileges.
If you go back to previous podcasts that I did, I spoke about this. You have visitors, people with visitors visas who come into the country and they tell the agents at the border, and they think that this is not being recorded. Everything is being recorded, even your voice, your pictures, everything is being checked and recorded. You come in and say you're going to spend 2 weeks. They give you 6 months. You spend 5 months, and then you do it on multiple occasions, and you get away. You think you get away with it. Today's day and in this atmosphere, that does not fly, guys. You need legal advice. You need to know before you go, before you come to the border. Check yourself. Speak to an immigration attorney, an immigration specialist. I'm going to put some numbers below at the end of the show. Talk to me, and I'll point you in the right direction. This is not legal advice for you. Check it out for yourselves, and find your own attorney. It's on you. You know what's going on. And I told you, this is going to become a problem if you continue to abuse your visa, your visitor's visa, or other visas. It is a problem today. So keep on listening, guys.
And they revoke your visa and turn you away. The second thing is, if you have a past experience that you weren't prepared well and you got pulled in secondary, and this time you came and you have all the documents to prepare and you explain your return travels, where you're going, where you're staying, that doesn't mean that that your past will no longer affect you, because CBP officers still look into the past as well as now, as well as different agencies are different. Tourist visa coming in, filing an extension, getting the extension approved, leaving. Oh, you might think you're fine because you came in, you stayed within the bounds of your admission 6 months, you filed an extension, got approved, and you left before it expired. Next time you came in, sorry, visa got denied. Just because USCIS accepts your extension does not mean CBP, the customs officer, will accept that approval later on. So be very, very, very careful. Likewise, just because CBP allowed you in for 6 months and then you file a change of status doesn't mean USCIS will necessarily approve your extension.
I want you to listen to this carefully, guys. Not because you entered, you overstayed, and now you want to change your status, whether it be through marriage, through a family petition. That does not mean that they will approve you. Don't think that it is guaranteed. This is coming from the American Immigration Lawyers Association. This is last weekend, they had this conference, and they have this conference every year. This was in Colorado, and this is coming down the pipe. Listen carefully, guys, because this is extremely important if it affects you. Here we go.
Different agencies with their own unique requirements. So here is the main thing. If you are on a tourist visa and you're flying in and you're here doing business, you really want to meet the main factors. You really need to prove that there's this ongoing business relationship, that it is contractual, there's a specialized knowledge in place, and largely you mainly want to prove that US workers cannot do what you're doing. For example, if you're coming in and you say you are a pipe repairer and you're coming in and you're doing plumbing, sure, that might be true, but why can't US customers just hire a US plumber? Why do they need to fly somebody over from overseas to do all the plumbing? If it's a proprietary technology that needs to be installed and it's like a one-time thing, makes sense. But if you're constantly flying and doing plumbing, you're probably just working, right? And so a lot of situations like that, if there is an L1 category, an E2 category, another visa category that's much more fitting for your job, CBP officers are encouraging people to do that and don't abuse the B1, B2 because they see it all the time. That is one of the things that they're looking for the most. You've gotten your visa and you've been continuously coming to the US. Why? Who do you work for? Let me check your electronic devices, right? So if there's another visa category, definitely apply for that one instead. I know it's expensive. I know it's hard to get, but that's what, I mean, if CBP cancels your visa, good luck trying to get a new one at the consulate. Unless you can prove that it was CBP's error, it is really difficult to try to get again. The next major topic is about electronic devices. CBP officers have one of the highest clearance regarding electronic device searches.
Now, this is extremely important, and I paused the video for you to listen and point out to you what is actually going on today. You've got to listen to this. If you think that you can break the rules, or you can post anything that you feel like and then come into the country, think again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Naram Promotions, the Real Deal Podcast Show, and I'm coming to you. And I need you to listen carefully because this information is for you and you and you. You know yourselves. Let's go.
If you say, no, I'm not willing to let you search it, I'm not willing to let you see it, they could still search it, they could still see it, they could scan the whole thing without you even knowing they scanned it and check it on their back end. Ever since 9/11, they have the heightened clearance to be able to do this. Now, with that being said, if you are an attorney or if you work very closely with many attorneys or with attorneys and you have a big project, you can say there are privileged information on this device. If you want to see it, please make sure you get the clearance from the legal counsel. So now, not only the officer, the supervisor, now they actually have to get CBP legal counsel to approve the search. When we are talking to CBP officers, this is the advice they gave. If you have nothing to hide, just tell us what and where to search it. For example, if the officer and you're talking about your work and your travel, you can say, look, I'm not going to work in the US. Let me prove it to you. Here's my WeChat, here's my Line, here's my WhatsApp, here's the things that I'm doing. Take a look at it, and here's the things that I'm looking at. Show them yourself. And then when the officer glancing through it, seeing it like, yeah, that's true, you are being clean. That's fine. That's understandable, right? If, for example, you got your green card through a marriage case, and now the officer is suspecting you that your marriage is fraudulent or your marriage no longer exists. Say, we have a lot of text messages, we have a lot of photos together, we just went to Hawaii together, we just went somewhere, let me show you. You specifically show the officers the things that they want to see to prove their case. If they're searching your phone, it's probably because the conversation has gotten pretty bad. Maybe you've said something you really, really shouldn't have said. Maybe there's something on your record that's there, but that you know about or you don't know about, and the line of questioning causes them to really suspect. Now they need to search your phone. Help them search the things that they're looking for so it can prove your innocence, and hopefully you will be fine. If you want your case to be faster, discovery is your best method to get them to do and approve your case. If they say,
And you got to understand what discovery means. That is the evidence that proves your case. That discovery of the evidence. Help them to whatever they're looking for, help them to find it. Don't let them work for it, because it will work against you. So if they're asking for proof that your marriage is on the up and up and it's legitimate, help them, show them the proof. If it's something else that they are looking for, help them to find that evidence. That's the discovery. Move into it with a lot of action and enthusiasm. Show them, because they have the right. They can check it without you even knowing. If you refuse, it can work against you. Keep on listening, guys.
we cannot process your case faster. We are swamped. We don't have enough people to hire. We don't have enough people to process all of these cases. We are in a state of emergency. Granted, we understand your actions, your delay is justified, but please prove it. I believe you, but just prove it. So show us all the documents of how many cases have you been processing and why you're so understaffed and your training. Go through discovery. If you can justify your delay, we'll drop the lawsuit. But if you cannot, then please approve the case. From what we have seen at this AILA conference, all the experts have said when it gets to discovery, the government folds. The government, USCIS, CBP, ICE, the legal departments for all these administrations, they are not willing to enter discovery. So the ultimate solution to trying to speed up your case that has been unjustly and unduly delayed is to file a mandamus action and go into discovery. And because at that stage, from what everybody...
Speak to an immigration attorney. Speak to an immigration specialist. You need legal advice if you know you have a problem. This is Naram Promotions, the Real Deal Podcast Show. We're not giving you any legal advice, guys. I'm showing you from my perspective. It is up to you to get the truth or to forward the truth to those who can present it. You get what I'm saying? So you need legal advice if you have a problem. This is the American Immigration Lawyers Association explaining to you what they discovered over the last weekend from all the agencies that is in relation to immigration problems or immigration issues. So listen carefully, guys.
has been saying the government folds and just adjudicates the case. Now, that doesn't mean everybody should just willy-nilly and file a mandamus every single time they feel impatient. You still should give government the proper amount of time to adjudicate these cases. If the reasonable time frame that they say that they are under is unreasonable to you, then sure, you can.
A mandamus from an attorney, an experienced attorney that is, forces the government to make a decision on your case. This is why you need to speak to an immigration attorney to know before you go. Continue listening.
Fight them in court and file for this discovery request. But this is, I've always known mandamus's work. In our experience, all the mandamus actions we file, we get results very quickly, sometimes within a month. But I didn't know the backstory behind that is that they're so afraid of discovery. If you want your file from the government, by filing a FOIA request, you are eligible to get it, but can you get it faster? Because a lot of the processing these days, we're seeing it to be extremely long, some over 6 months, when they're required to give it to you within 20 days. How do you get it faster? Well, USCIS have updated their FOIA request system, and there's 3 different ways. There's the simple way, there's the complex way, and there's the emergency way. All 3 you need to be mindful for, right? If it's simple, you explain why it's simple and ask them to. And sometimes they'll prioritize it, print it out, give it to you because there's nothing to redact. If your case is complicated, meaning there's a lot of things that needs to be redacted, how do you know if your case is complicated? Well, if there's a third party involved, it's generally complicated. If your employer is petitioning you and you want your file, well, the government can't give you employer's tax returns, so they have to redact it. If you have other experts, if you have FBI involved with your U visa case, their notes have to be redacted. It's a complicated case. If your file is over like 200, 300, 500 pages, which a lot of people's cases are, it could be extremely complicated. If your case have multiple previous denials and there's a lot of notes and investigations on you in the file, it's complicated. If it's complicated, that doesn't mean you necessarily need to say it's complicated. You can still say it's simple because I only want this document, right? I just want this approval notice on this date. Well, that is a pretty simple request. They pull your file, find a thing, and give it to you. They don't have to go through the 2,000 pages, redact everything, and then give it to you, right? So there's the simple and there's the complicated. And then there's the emergency. Humanitarian emergency is usually one of them. You have an immigration court hearing. You need the file in order to defend yourself, or else you and your entire family will be deported. You have a good basis, so please provide my FOIA request and receive everything. All of these things are really important. I didn't even know these many different tricks until I came to this conference, and these expert panelists were sharing how to get your FOIA requests approved faster and better. It is so important for the public to know that FOIA exists to benefit them. It keeps the government accountable. If they're denying a case, if they're approving a case, what basis do they have? What do they look at when they look at you individually in the system? You can get access to all of that. This is a very philosophical question regarding immigration. Okay, you decide what is right. Any high schooler who's taken political theory should be able to answer this, but we are in a new era. Who determines what is the law? Is it Congress? Is it the executive branch? Or is it the judiciary? We have tons of actions that the executive administration have implemented, have done, and now it is being appealed through the judiciary. And whenever the judiciary, district court or the federal court, makes a ruling that the executive branch does not like, they immediately appeal it up to the Supreme Court. Almost all of these appeals, the executive administration, the executive branch, is not providing any substantive rationale. They have the simple answer, national security. And if the Supreme Court doesn't do anything and if all the other judiciary doesn't do anything, then doesn't that mean that the executive branch of the government, what they do is the law of the land? In past administrations, that was not the case. Executive branch does certain things. When the judiciary stops it, it gets stopped and it gets discussed, it gets debated, and then it gets finalized, and the Supreme Court would rule or revert it back to the federal courts, the lower branches, to determine key issues and key matters according to the Constitution. And if the Constitution is off and the public doesn't like it, the elected officials in Congress can amend the Constitution for the courts to administer. And the executive branch is supposed to function accordingly. But that is not what we're seeing. But we have to see what the Supreme Court ultimately rules. And if the Supreme Court continuously defers and ignores this philosophical question, then it is as if the judiciary and Congress have put all the power and handed it to the executive branch. And that will be...
Ladies and gentlemen, as you heard it, you've seen what happened with the Supreme Court, and I'll go over that in a second for you. what has come down from the Supreme Court is after a lot of pressure from the executive branch to tell you that the law that is on the books is being followed. So therefore, guys, you got to understand one thing. Law and order stands predominant. If you break the law, then you got to face the consequences. So therefore, remember this, that if you need immigration advice, speak to an immigration attorney. So therefore, if you're not, then you're leaving everything up to chance. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen to Trish. We say Trish Reagan, as she speaks about the ruling from the Supreme Court. Here we go.
New York is panicking over the latest Supreme Court win for one Donald Trump because you see, he wants the ability, if somebody has committed a heinous crime and has been convicted of that heinous crime, to be able to deport them to their home country. But what happens when the home country says, we don't really want them? We're not going to take them back. What do you do? Do you get saddled forever, leaving them in the prison system as a drain on American taxpayers? Well, he's like, I don't think so. His team is saying, I don't think so. And so they went to the Supreme Court of the United States of America because you had district court judges, you had local judges, everybody weighing in on this. And they said, okay, we want the final answer. What do you guys say? And here you go. This was the verdict just last night coming from the Supreme Court. They say they will allow for the swift deportation of migrants to third countries. In other words, if your country won't take you back, we can send you somewhere else. That's the deal here. And this is just blowing everybody away. And you know what? This is getting lost in the shuffle, I'll just say, because obviously there are a lot of things calling our attention today, and we'll get to all of those things. But this is effectively Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, Governor Newsom out there on the lefty coast, California, and Letitia James's worst nightmare, because what they have decided is that basically people can be deported to third countries, meaning not their home country, not here, the United States. And they don't actually need to be given this meaningful notice. They don't need to have all this time to appeal.
If you're a man who makes at least 150 grand a year and you feel self-conscious about your gut sticking out, I'll get you shredded or you won't pay a dime. I'm talking Chris Hemsworth's Thor or Brad Pitt in Fight Club level ripped. And we're going to do so with an...
Guys, let's get that off the screen, and I'm going to pause the video for a second. So what you're hearing here is this. If you're caught and you're deemed deportable, then you can they can put you into any facility anywhere around the world. That's what the doors have been opened from the Supreme Court for the executive branch to order you to go to any country that they feel that, especially if your home country does not want you to come back, or if they want to hold you, they can hold you anywhere. So you got to seek legal advice, and you got to seek it now. So let me get into this a little bit more, and then we'll talk after this.
More and more money. And they said, you know what? You guys can do what you want, because we can't allow for these little courts to be interfering and intervening with the president's authority over foreign affairs. So that's a big deal. Typically, typically the way it would work is you'd have some kind of, well, this is what was going down, right? He'd try and deport someone, and immediately you'd have all these other lower courts stepping in and saying, no. This came down with the usual breakdown. You had the three dissenters, being the three liberals on the court, saying, we don't like this, of course. But I got to say, this is a big big deal. Just to quote what those on the left were saying, Justices Elena Kagan, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Sonia Sotomayor, they said apparently the court finds the idea that thousands will suffer violence in the far-flung locales more palatable than the remote possibility that a district court exceeded its remedial powers when it ordered the government to provide notice and process to which the plaintiffs are constitutionally and statutorily entitled. I'm sorry, you kind of had me when the district court is exceeding its remedial powers. In other words, when does a district court judge get to tell the president of the United States what to do? I don't think so, okay? So we can't have this kind of chaos and lack of law and order. And that's what ultimately was decided here. This is a big deal, okay? So New York's going to be flipping out. Everybody's going to be flipping out. I realize it's gotten lost in the shuffle, but I wanted to bring this to you because it's really important. In other words, this is basically confirming the supremacy of the federal power of the executive branch over these district court judges, and you can't get in the way with this sort of foreign affairs meddling. So there's still like lots of questions that will have to be resolved. It apparently doesn't resolve questions about the Trump administration's legal obligations to the migrants, if they have any, what they are, and that'll all get litigated out. But at least from a most immediate perspective, and you better believe it, you better believe that it is going into action. In fact, Stephen Miller was just telling us that last night, was he not? Let's go over to Fox News. He was on Hannity's show, and he's like, you better believe it. This is going into action ASAP. So in other words, they now have the right to deport people who have committed crimes, who've been.
Listen carefully, guys. I want you to listen to this. Listen carefully.
Convicted of crimes. They can get the HELL out of the country. It doesn't matter. If their country won't take them back, we can send them somewhere else. Listen to Mr. Miller.
This is an incredible victory, the Supreme Court win. It allows President Trump, as the law has long said, but the courts have blocked, it allows President Trump to send illegal aliens to any country around the world that is willing to accept them. So whether that be South Sudan, or whether it be Somalia, or whether it be Ethiopia, any country in the world that is willing to accept, we can get them out of our country and be free of them forever.
Wow. Okay. So there you have it. I think he summed it up pretty well. You know, this has been an ongoing issue. Don't forget, this became an issue in terms of Alberto Garcia. Remember.
So ladies and gentlemen, let me bring you to another video. Now, I've been saying this in other podcasts. This is Naram Promotions, a Real Deal podcast show. Listen carefully, guys. This is serious. The landscape has changed, and you're going to understand that it is not business as usual anymore. It is law and order, and there's a new president in town, and he's laying out the rules. No matter who you are, or what you think your situation is, just remember this: that you will have to face the new administration. Okay, so let's go to Attorney McBean, and Attorney McBean is going to lay out for you what the Trump administration is doing with your data. So those who came to the United States and went on welfare, goodness gracious me, you want to hear this, okay? So listen carefully, guys, and I'll comment afterwards. Here we go.
Go after those individuals. Trump administration is going after more data held by states. According to NPR, the Trump administration is making an unprecedented reach for data held by states. And some of that data could be used or leveraged for immigration enforcement activities, which raises some legal questions, according to experts. For instance, the Department of Agriculture told states last month they will need to turn over the names, social security numbers, addresses, dates of birth of tens of millions of people who applied for federal food aid under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, over the last 5 years, or they risk losing federal funds. ICE has also issued subpoenas to states and localities for records that include the personal information of non-citizens, including for sensitive details of applicants to a California program that gives monthly support to low-income, elderly, or disabled legal immigrants who do not qualify for Social Security payments. And earlier,
So listen carefully. Okay, so you remember what was going on before in the first Trump administration about the burden on the U.S. government if you become a burden. Now it's come back to haunt many of those who took that monies from the U.S. government to help themselves. It's coming to hurt you. Listen carefully, guys. I want to comment on this afterwards. Here we go.
earlier this month, federal health officials shared data about millions of Medicaid recipients from a handful of states with the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees immigration enforcement. This is all happening based on an executive order that President Trump signed in March called Stop and Waste, Fraud, and Abuse by Eliminating Information Silos, which calls for the federal government to have unfettered access to data from state programs that receive federal funds, including databases held by third parties. More data means more information so that the administration can track people to know where they're located and to potentially go after those individuals. Trump administration is going after more data held by states. According to NPR, the Trump administration is making an unprecedented reach for data held by states. And some of that data could be used or leveraged for immigration enforcement activities, which raises some legal questions, according to experts. For instance, the Department of Agriculture told states last month they will need to turn over the names, social security numbers, addresses, dates of birth of tens of millions of people who applied for federal food aid under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, over the last 5 years, or they risk losing federal funds.
So now let's move. Goodness gracious me, ladies and gentlemen, it has moved to another level. This immigration landscape is not the same, and it has changed forever and ever. Because right now it is the President Donald Trump administration is stamping the law and order of this new administration. So let's move on to something more serious. I want you to understand how serious this is because I've spoken about it earlier and before in previous podcasts. So therefore, let's move into this, and we're going to talk about this afterwards. Why this is extremely important for you to know. It is I'm going to tell you this: the state of Florida is building in the Everglades a place to hold illegal migrants or those who are in bad standing with the U.S. government. This is in the middle of the Everglades. It's like a swamp area. Alligators, snakes. You can't run anywhere, and you could be held there indefinitely until your case is dealt with. This is no joke, guys. I'm going to share this with you, and then we're going to talk about it afterwards because this is a big, big deal. If you have an immigration problem,
Thousand immigrants called Alligator Alcatraz, according to CBS News. Why? Because there's no place to go other than into the wetlands where alligators would be waiting for folks if they try to escape. This is a plan that the state of Florida is moving forward with, and the federal government will reimburse the state for building these facilities. Nome said the detention facilities in Florida will be funded in large part by FEMA. Florida's Attorney General announced that they could begin accepting people, so to speak, as early as next month. Friends, comment below and let me know your thoughts. I'm covering.
So they're building Alligator Alcatraz. Goodness gracious me! This is a serious. It's a big deal. So if you think that you're okay, there's no place to hide because they've given you a deal. If you want to self-deport, we'll give you $1,000 and give you an airline ticket, and we'll help you to leave and give you some money when you get to your destination. That's on the internet. Check it out for yourself. Also, they're saying if you're here in the United States and you intend to adjust and you have not registered, then you owe some money. That means, what is it, $9.98 a day, or is it somewhere near $1,000 a day? Check it out. It's online. You can Google it. And also, ICE is sweeping every sanctuary state. So if you're caught up, even if you're a citizen or a green card holder, a visa holder, or you're illegal or you're undocumented, if you get caught in that dragnet, you'll be processed. If you had some adverse information in your application from years ago, or you committed a crime years ago as a green card holder, or you misrepresented yourself as a citizen, it's going to come up. So there's nowhere to hide here. So you got to speak to an immigration attorney, an immigration specialist. I want to touch on this topic later on in the news. This is Naram Promotions, the Real Deal podcast show. And do remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and click that notification bell. So, guys, I'm going to step into the Alpart pension problems. So I spoke to a number of people who are facing the pension problems. So I need to speak about this for a minute. I started this on a podcast because of Mr. Owen Witter, who spoke to me about it, and he was very, very adamant that, this is wrong. Now, when he said this is wrong, I did not really take it into consideration the way he did. But let me move to my folder. And I've got a folder here with a lot of documents listed in here that he has been sending me. And I'm still gathering documents. So what has happened is that they were employed, Mr. Witter and many others, hundreds of others, were employed by Alumina Partners of Jamaica. And they signed an employment agreement. In this employment agreement, they contributed to their retirement. I think it was, if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong, but LOJ, and it turned over to Sagicor. And during this time, that agreement was they had to give 10 years of service to become vested in this retirement program. Now let's look at the word vested. Vested means in pension category. In the pension category, it's legally entitled to a future. These people are legally entitled to a future benefit from a pension. So, for example, he was completely vested after 10 years with the company. That means you're legally entitled to a future benefit. That's the agreement. So somewhere along the line, something changed, which my understanding is when that agreement was made, it was irrevocable. So no matter what judge spoke, or even the government spoke, this was a legal binding agreement. Now you have hundreds of workers who are now becoming retired and they have no pension. So I looked further into the documents and I found out that somewhere along the line there's a cover up, or there's a conspiracy, or there was fraud, that these people who inputted 10, 15, 20, or 30 years of their life into this company named Alumina Partners of Jamaica cannot receive a pension now that they're of retirement age. How does that sound to you? So I'm calling on every person who worked for the company of Alumina Partners of Jamaica to contact me, and I'm going to put my number down below. I need you to contact me because I need the backing of all of you. I need an agreement from all of you that you need me to continue looking into this problem. So even if your parents have died who worked for Alumina Partners of Jamaica and they were vested, the critical word or the operational word is vested. They had 10 years or more service and they became vested in this pension scheme. Contact me because we're going to look into this and we're going to get to the bottom of this, because this is of regional a regional effect. It affects hundreds of workers who have been calling me and saying they call Sagicor and they're being told that they have no pension. Goodness gracious me. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. If you know someone who worked for Alumina Partners of Jamaica, and I want you to listen to me carefully. If you know someone who worked for Alumina Partners of Jamaica and they're vested in this pension program, please contact me. The numbers are scrolling below. I need your name and your badge number and your contact number and your email, because we're going to get to the bottom of this. The government of Jamaica, where are they? Where's Sir Frank Witter, Minister of State? I've been looking at the Minister of the Ministry or the Minister of Finance and Public Service. Is that Miss Favour Williams? Or I've been looking at, let's go further. Before I get to these ministers, I need all the facts. We need to have a conversation, and you have to be on board to take it all the way, because I'm committed to take it all the way. Because this is about integrity and transparency and trust and integrity. If the government cannot weigh in and solve this problem because you have already contributed under the agreement, you were forced to sign a document after Alumina Partners of Jamaica closed, but Alumina Partners of Jamaica made a contribution, a matching contribution or above that. So a lot of money is sitting down there in either LOJ or Sagicor that belongs to these people who are vested, who are vested in their retirement. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've worked for Alumna Partners of Jamaica and you're vested 10 years or more, call the number below so we get your name and we can get everybody together to get to the bottom of this. This is unfair because you signed an agreement, an employment agreement. You worked hard, and many have suffered the consequences of working in that environment. Many people in the South Central of Jamaica are suffering from the effects of that environment. And now many want their retirement to look after themselves and their family, but they're not getting it. Everyone I've spoken to, I've had numerous calls, and they have been told by Sagicor, you do not have a pension. So how does that work? Let me understand this, that you have an arrangement and you worked and got vested for 10 years or more. You paid over that money. The company contributed, and the understanding is you will have a pension at age 65 or earlier, depending on the agreement. So where is that money? Who's holding that money? Why is that money being paid over to these people? I can't understand. It does not make sense, and I need it to make sense. So I need all the documentation, which I'm getting, and I need all the people who are alive and those families who know of their family members who have died and they were vested, to contact me, because I cannot do this without you. I'll spend my time and energy in this because that's unfair. This is Naram Promotions, the Real Deal podcast show, guys. This is no joke. If you're entitled to a pension, it's now time for it to be paid over. Where's the Minister of Labor? Where's the Prime Minister? Where are they? Why aren't these people getting help? They're trying to fight this on their own. Many have given up. Many have tried on numerous occasions and still cannot understand why that they have been vested, and the operative word is vested. This is not the way it should go. If I know the Prime Minister is a fair man, I know the government of Jamaica has a lot of integrity. I believe in the government of Jamaica. And I think it's time to address this matter. It's been going on far too long, and there's too many people that have been hurt by it. Poor people. People who have reached retirement age and are suffering from many ailments. They need their money. And we're going to get to the bottom of this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Naram Promotions, the Real Deal podcast show. Thank you for being here. We're going to touch on the VVIP Club, and we're going to also touch on an event that's going to be happening on Sunday. As I said, if you want to be in the VVIP Club or the VIB Club, or you just want to be a part of Naram Promotions, the Real Deal podcast show, and you want your events to be advertised, please visit the Mystic Inn in Sea Air District in Manchester. The events that are of importance, such as charitable events, they're free. You just have to contact me and we'll talk about it. Or you can come on for a couple of minutes and tell us about it. However, for those who are not a part of the VVIP club or the VIP club or a charitable organization, a church, a school, a social club, or a service club, you got to go to the Mystic Inn, and there's a spending limit that, you got to spend something to be in one of those categories. But right now, let's touch on this fundraiser. It's called Good Friends Domino Tournament Bingo Party Fundraiser. This event is in aid of the Raymond Barnes medical expenses. It's at Junction Building Depot in Junction, St. Elizabeth on July 26th. Is a Saturday, 2025. This is a great event to show your benevolence. Go and contribute to this great event in aid of Raymond Barnes medical expense. This is something, a fiduciary duty of you, the community, to help those who are in need. We say go there on July 26th, that's a Saturday, 2025, at Junction Building Depot in Junction, St. Elizabeth. This is a good cause. Go there, guys. We also move to Nurse K. She presents her mobile health fair, K's Mobile Service Health Fair, on July 26, 2025. It starts at 9 p.m. There'll be free blood pressure checks, free blood sugar checks, free HIV tests. Doctors are doing free back to school medicals. So if you have children and they need back to school medicals, go there, guys. You'll get information on the New Forest High School. If you want to enroll there, you'll get free information there. Also, you'll get information on a lot more if you go there early. Go there early at the Agri Plus Farm Store in New Forest District in Manchester. And this is on Saturday, July 26, 2025. Nurse K is a community activist. She does a lot for her community, and she does a lot of good for many people. Check her out. Nurse K is doing a lot of good things, guys. And you got to check this out. This is a free health fair. This is K's Mobile Service Health Fair, and it starts at 9 a.m. sharp on Saturday, July 26, 2025, at the Agri Plus Farm Store in New Forest District in Manchester. That's South Central Jamaica. Wherever you're coming from, get there at 9 a.m. on Saturday, July 26. This is a big deal. Lady K also has what she calls Cookout and Friends Link Up. That's on June 27th, guys. 2 days time. That's Friday. That's on Friday. So if you need information about the health fair, go to her Cookout and Friends Link Up. The music will be by one of the top Gregors. This guy, DJ Skiboo, has been decorated. He's the most decorated disc jockey in the entire South Central Jamaica and across the island as well. He has received more accolades than many disc jockeys across the island. He travels, he has his tours in Canada, Cayman, and other places. He's one of the best disc jockeys in the island. And you also have Little Trouble that will also be providing music. It's going to be at Misha's Right Spot Bar in Sear District on the Sear Main Road in Manchester, Jamaica. You can't miss it. If you don't know where Misha's Right Spot is, go to Google Maps and you type in Misha's Right Spot Bar and you'll find it. Just as how you can find the Mystic Inn, that's my place. The Mystic Inn is also on Google Maps. Type it in, the Mystic Inn. If you come to the Mystic Inn, you pass, if you're coming from Gutters, you've passed Misha's, because Misha's Right Spot Bar is about 200 yards away from the Mystic Inn. So we're close. So Lady K, as nurse, presents Cookout and Friends Link Up. This is a big deal. The food is going to be great. You got to go early because this event is going to be overloaded with a lot of her friends. So DJ Skiboo will entertain you all day and all night with Liquor Trouble. Go to this event. Don't miss this event. It's one of the biggest cookouts in South Central Jamaica for the entire summer. Do not miss this event. Lady K, hats off to you. And let's move on to Roxbury, a night at the Roxbury. Swamp View Promotions in association with Bolo presents birthday celebration, and they call it a night at the Roxbury. And this is on July 25th, 2025. This is a Friday. Guys, this gentleman we call Bolo. He's right here on your poster. He is one of the, we call it the rum boss. Goodness gracious me, we call him the rum boss. He supplies alcohol throughout the South Central of Jamaica. He brings it to you at an affordable way, in an affordable way. Talk to him. He will always, if you got an event going on and you need alcohol, top, middle, or bottom shelf, doesn't matter. He will get it to you and get it to you on time. And he'll give you a deal. It's his event. It's a birthday celebration. It's called a Night at the Roxbury on July 25th, 2025, at Gully Side Bar, Lane Road in New Forest District in Manchester. Musical juggling by DJ 5, Uptown Movements, and the big bad DJ Kino. I'm telling you this event is going to be off the chain. So if you're coming from Gutters leading to Alligator Pond, when you get to Crazy Mondays HQ, that's Ian's Lawn, right at that square, you pass New Forest High School, it's right, that square, as you pass it, is where Ian Lawn is. You make the left and you go down to Gully Side. It's all Barbara Green. It's smooth road to get down there. There's no bumps and all that good stuff. It's good road to get down there. When you get to Gully Side Bar, it's a beautiful, picturesque venue. It has adequate parking, beautiful venue, and they will have a lot of stuff for you there. Guaranteed. That's where the fish meet the chicken, right? So this event is one of the biggest events in the South. You got to be at Gully Side Bar, Lane Road, in New Forest District in Manchester on July 25th, 2025. It's called a Night at the Roxbury. It's Swamp View Promotions in association with King Bolo from Alligator Pond. It's going to be a big, big deal, guys. So let's move on to the Rum for Tea crew. Goodness gracious me. We say, what? Rum for tea. So, Rum for Tea crew with Sir Bartley and the master. I would say condolences to Sir Bartley and the passing of his father. But the Rum for Tea family, they'll be putting on August 3rd, 2025, is a Sunday, at Crazy Mondays HQ at Ian's Lawn. This is a big event in association with Andia's Weekend. This is a big, big event, guys. They're very well connected. It's going to be a secure event, and it's going to be at a prestige location. Gully Side Bars down the road. This is called Ian's Lawn, the Icon Lawn, where Crazy Mondays is. You'll have musical juggling by one of the top Gregors, the top DJs in South Central Jamaica. That's DJ Skiboo. And one of the biggest, baddest sounds, that's Eagle Force. This is going to be a big deal, guys. Do you know that you have to get there early? Early on a Sunday. This is going to be an event right in between Emancipation Day and Independence Day of Jamaica. This is a big deal. It's party central. Turn out. If you're on the island, make your way there. There's a lot of Airbnbs, a lot of guest houses in and around the area. So Google them. And if you need to know, just call me. And I'll give you my numbers down below so that you know if you want information about it, call me and I'll point you in the right direction. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, this is going to be a big, big deal. And if you feel that you need to have a quiet or a nice ambiance, go to Top Rock Bar and Grill. They have all the best seafood around off the coast in Prospect District in Manchester. Also, they have what you call Classic Sundays. So if you want to chill out a little bit before you go to another event, go to Top Rock. They also have what you call Cool Rock Fridays. But also, you got to remember, you have a place called the Mystic Inn. The Mystic Inn is always at your service. So remember, guys, if you need to be a part of the VVIP club, what do? You go to the Mystic Inn. If you want to be a part of the VIP club, you go to the Mystic Inn. If you want your events to be advertised and you're not a school, church, a social club, go to the Mystic Inn. So you have no excuses. I'm going to put the Mystic Inn up here because for those who don't know, you need to know. The Mystic Inn is in Sea Air District in Manchester, and you got to know where to go if you want to be on the show. So those who are in the VVIP club, go to the Mystic Inn. Because those who were automatically inducted, your membership comes to an end and you got to renew at the Mystic Inn. Those who are in the VIP club, your membership ended. That free induction, it ended. So if you want to renew it, go to the Mystic Inn. Those who want to have their events mentioned, go to the Mystic Inn and give your information. The Mystic Inn is in Sea Air District in Manchester, Jamaica. So on your way, if you're coming from down in Santa Cruz or Mandeville, and you come to Gutters, and you turn towards Alligator Pond, the Mystic Inn is on your right-hand side, about 6 or 6.5 miles in. You can't miss it. Look at the picture of the Mystic Inn. You can't miss it. Great place to hang out. So therefore, those who I'm advertising now or talking about, the VVIP club members, they can come on the show for a couple of minutes and talk about their event. It adds a different flavor to it. Okay. Also, the VIP members will have to spend a little bit more to get that privilege, but their events will be mentioned. Also, you can come to the Mystic Inn and have your events mentioned as a member. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's something for everybody. And I want to put up the, is it the Chicken Back Festival? That's Pizza Nita and the family. Here we go. Pizza Nita, in association with Links Construction and Maintenance Company, and also sponsored by Black Brothers Construction, King's Chemicals, Market Fresh Produce, and Pump Up Liquor Store, presents Chicken Back and Seafood Festival. They give you chicken back in every style and the fish in any style. They say breakfast will be served at 8 a.m. Come with your swimsuit, and the river is only 5 minutes away. This will be at Tara's Seafood Restaurant and Lounge in Alligator Pond District in Manchester. This is a beautiful venue. This is going to be one of those events on August 1st, 2025, that you should not miss. This is a big deal. So Pizza Nita has agreed to come on the show. And I'm going to just like, share, subscribe, comment, and click the notification bell to know when we're coming on the show. And you'll have Pizza Nita to talk about the history of Chicken Back Festival, where it's coming from, why did he create this, and how many years has he been doing this, why he continues it, and also what to expect on August 1st, 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. I tried last podcast to have um, DJ Ashley's mixtape with Jamason take us out, but there was no audio. I'm going to try again. But DJ Latta will be here on this weekend. So we won't have any faults with the music because he knows what to do. Okay, so thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. We say God bless you all. Thank you for being here. Always pray when you're going out, pray when you're coming in. Only God controls our lives. And also spread a positive word. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and click the notification bell to know when we're coming on. This is Naram Promotions, the real deal podcast show, and we're here for you each and every time. And we say, God bless you all. And we are going to try with Jamason again to take us out. Goodness gracious me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. A heartfelt love to all my audience. And remember, coming up in the summer, you will have the Naram family live here to tell you where Naram Promotion started in the southwest of London. And they will give you the history. Colonel, Stuka, Smiley, Floyd, the whole Naram family will be on here. So make sure you keep liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, and also clicking that notification bell so we can grow this show. It's a family friendly show. And we say to you, one love, God bless, and we'll see you at the next show. We say big up to Ashley in my nephew in England. You'll see him soon again on the show. And this time, he has something to tell you because he's taking it to another level. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being a part of the show. One love. God bless. Goodness gracious me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And we say good night, and we'll see you on the next show. Naram Promotions is at you. Good morning. Naram Promotions is at you.